Professor Qian Moss from Des Moines Area Community College. Welcome to the Anatomy and Clay Learning System podcast.
Thanks. Thank you for having me.
We appreciate your time, and we've been setting this up for a couple of weeks, and hope you had a good finish to your semester this fall. And thank you for making time over your break.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. No problem.
Yeah. So I understand that this is your first semester using the Anatomy and Clay learning system models, and we'll get to that. But first, if we could just get a little background on you. Can you tell us where you grew up?
Okay, I grew up in China, and just a little bit more. I grew up in a rather traditional and a loving family of 5. And so career-wise, we have 4 engineers, and I am the only exception. And I took the route of medical school, and so I went to the 3rd Military Medical University. Yeah.
Why were you the outlier? What sparked your interest in this field?
In medicine, honestly, I graduated from high school when I was 16. So I really did not know what I exactly want to do with my life. And my parents were huge influence on me, and especially my dad. And so he and his whole family, his family actually lived in the States. So I grew up without his side of family, but they all contributed to the decision that it's best for me to go in the medical route. And so the application, we take the national entrance exam after high school, and then you get to fill out this application to all different universities, national level or provincial or city level. So I can say my dad kind of took over, even though he did ask me what I'm interested in. So I was more interested in humanity side, but my dad always talked about, like, I wanted to study English, but he said that would be a great tool, but not as a major, as a profession. And I totally respect him because I still think he's the smartest person, and as I ever known. So I just went to medical school, but I was and still am just a big nerd person. Really, I love books. I love reading and learning. So all the subjects, even though medicine, it's kind of was new at that time, a lot of the subjects, because I was more into math, into English and the physics, but and I just took on all the different courses. I loved all of them, honestly.
Yeah. So you went to 3rd Military Medical University in China. Can you tell us what that is? And is it I guess it's a fairly well-known university in China. Were you pursuing anatomy and physiology when you started there?
Not at all, because it's a medical school. So it did have a couple of other schools. So I went in the School of Medicine, and they also had a separate School of Preventive Medicine and a School of Nursing. So I was going into the medical field to be a doctor, basically. And very specifically, for several years in medical school, I wanted to be an endocrinologist. And because my mom had just diabetes for lifetime almost. And yeah, I'm not sharing all the little details, but I love my mom. I just really felt like I could make a difference. And so that was my motivation, and for a number of years, and in medical school. So I had no idea someday I was going to end up being a teacher or professor. So that wasn't in the plan.
Yeah. So what steered you away from that then? What got you into focusing on anatomy and physiology then?
Well, after graduating from the 3rd Military Medical University, and during the internship year, I really wanted to go in research. I have taken care of or being part of a team, taking care of a lot of patients with just end stage illness, you know, a lot of cancer. And so, you know, when you were that young, and so I started medical school 16, and I was still just really not very mature, and also in a good way, a lot of dreams. And I just wanted to do molecular biology research, and also to, you know, just open to more, just broader, just opportunities. So that's about the time when I decided to come to the US to learn a lot of techniques of molecular biology. And also because my dad's side whole family were here when we were growing up. So that was also another reason. And for me to kind of they all wanted me to come and to see them. And that really for years, because the two countries were not in best terms, and unfortunately. So I just decided to come. And so still, even at that time, I was more into microbiology than anatomy, physiology. So if you have more specific questions, I did not decided to go in teaching, especially teaching AMP, anatomy, physiology, until much later. So my trajectory kind of just changed from where I started, but I'm thankful, you know, for where I am at today. So
Right. So you studied at the University of Georgia for a time, right? Yeah.
yeah.
How did you end up in Des Moines?
That's so the UGA, and I went there for a PhD program, but it would have been super long. And also the bacteria, honestly, I was studying, and the techniques were amazing, but the bacteria just was not exciting to me, and still not. It's a Myxococcus densus, and it's not related to any diseases. And so I was just not excited over that. So I met my husband at the University of Georgia, and he got his job from Pella Corp, which is in Pella, Iowa. So that's kind of the main reason that we moved all the way from Georgia and to here. And so what directed me to the teaching path would be backing up a little bit during that research or the graduate studies. I just by chance subbed for a fellow graduate student. And that's about the time I just really felt like research wasn't for me. So I just tried to think what's the next step. And it's really now I'm just really thankful. And for me, I'm a person of faith too. So I think it's just meant to. And so I was subbing for Bio 101, 102 for a graduate student. And I just felt that was an amazing experience. You know, I never thought a person speaking English as a second language could have just moved on to, honestly, at that time, I didn't think it would be the right career path. I just wasn't confident about my English, you know, and there are a lot of terms and all that culture thing. So but I just loved that experience. And I got so excited that I was able to share with students, and they, you know, they were excited and with me, and over what I learned over years. So at that time, it was not even anatomy, physiology. So it was really, I just loved the teaching. I knew at that time, and that's at a Truman McConnell College right next to Georgia. It's a small 4-year school. So I just felt like I'm going to go in teaching. So after we came to Iowa, I actually first worked as a researcher again, just almost because you know, financial reasons, and just need work. And so I worked for Pioneer Hybrid International at the time, research. So they changed name. But anyway, then I was even more certain research wasn't for me. So I did a adjunct teaching, and then they had a need for anatomy physiology. And the more I teach it, and the more I love it. And so the more I'm passionate about the subject as well. But it really was not like I just knew I wanted to go in anatomy and physiology and teach anatomy and physiology. So
yeah, wow. So how many years total now at Des Moines Area Community
This is the only time making me feel old.
College?
And a couple decades, I would say. This,
Okay,
yeah, that long. So
couple of decades.
a
Wow.
lot of years. Yeah.
So what courses are you currently teaching?
Well, currently I teach anatomy physiology 1, so we're breaking into 2 semesters, and anatomy physiology 2, and then also nutrition. So I taught microbiology, which was and is still, my favorite subject, but well, for a number of reasons, the way it's taught, it's not meeting with my principal. So sorry about that.
That's okay.
And so I just changed only teaching anatomy, physiology, and the nutrition. So yeah, those 3.
What kinds of students can you just, I mean, I don't mean to generalize, but what kinds of students are coming through? Where are they headed in terms of their careers?
Yeah, it's in the healthcare. Well, we have our own nursing program, and we have our own dental hygiene and respiratory therapy and medical lab technicians. So all those programs, and they need my anatomy, physiology, and as a prereqs. And the nutrition actually is a prereq for the nursing program. But also I have had, since I taught a long time, so I have had a number of students just either they came already with bachelor's degree, or they moved on to get bachelor's degree, and then they entered medical school. And I had a couple finish the physical therapy, doctor of physical therapy, and also PA, physician assistant program. And it's interesting that my current primary care physician actually is a former student of mine. So I always just value, that continue the relationship, and seeing the students grow in their career is really what it kind of keeps me still motivated, and to just give my best and to still just go on.
That's great. Can you just tell us a little bit about when you encountered anatomy in clay? What prompted you to bring it into your classroom?
um Actually, it's a lot of years in making. So it's in the I would say early 2000s. I went to an anatomy physiology conference. So they had different workshops that you can choose, to attend. So it was
Sure.
just a few hours of one workshop, and that's where we built the brain and the spinal cord. So the whole central nervous system using clay. At the time, I just thought it's pretty cool, and I liked it. And but I was new at my school. I never thought I would, just to replace that with a cadaver dissection. So, but that was my first encounter. And when I started to evaluate what alternative we could have for the dissection, and that definitely, even though it's quite many years back, and that's one of the reasons. And then I did a lot of research too. So, yeah.
So when was the final decision to bring it in? Just must have been the last year or so. And then,
Yeah, it's so this fall we started just putting in classrooms. It's a whole year ago. So it's a whole
oh,
year ago, and a lot of prep work. And I was really, I did, I'm the kind of person I would do little details. And I also wrote or put together a visual guide, and I did the training. I took a lot of photos, and also put the tables. It's kind of like a foolproof for students to use. They can just look at the manual. They can just kind of start working on the model, even though, I was always there to show them. But it worked out very well. So we did a lot of preparation, even storage. It took a little bit for us to build cabinets, actually, just to just kind of one step ahead, and trying to anticipate what kind of issues may come up, and then just address that. So
so you brought in the system about over a year ago, but it took you some time to get ready to actually teach with it this fall. Okay.
Yeah.
And you've got photographs. You took photographs of yourself
My
building.
own model. Yeah, my little model. I named the trooper. And so I took the muscles and then I made tables of origin insertion, and I have a little note to just show them how to, how much to cut and where to start and how to build it. And I'm just really thankful that it worked out really well, and students find the menu very helpful. Even though I'm always there, I have my own model and it's showing to them, so.
Yeah. Wow. And I think I saw some photographs on Twitter or someplace online were beautiful building by your students. Just
Yeah.
beautiful.
So it went, well, and yeah, our college, the media center, they did all that work. And like I said, I personally not too active online. I kind of like more in person. So clay works for me well too. I like that hands-on, just creative part as well. So
As a teacher, what were some of your takeaways from watching your students work with the anatomy and clay system? Or is there anything you're going to change about how you teach with it, or what were some of the pros and cons that your students mentioned?
well, it's engaging. So the students and find it's a really just draw their attention in, and they're interested in it. And also I like the part that I can point out, where's the origin insertion. So you have the you have the bone part, and that we just finished up. You see the connection. So you see how the bone structure and why would they even have those bone features, and they provide, and that attachment point, for muscles. So I really just appreciate that part for them to see the human body as a whole, even though we have to teach, just separate chapters. And I'm pretty big on, just the real, like a tendon, the fascia. And so that's, I would say, the downside. You cannot really see that. You can draw where a tendon is at, but you cannot, nothing's perfect. So you cannot get that complete, that structure of real muscles. So missing the connective tissue component. So, yeah.
Was there one main focus that you were working on this fall in terms of what body system you were building?
You mean, we only did the muscle, only build the muscles, and because we have a lot of models, and we're still required in the syllabus and competency. You still have to have just some of the dissection to be part of the curriculum. So we still have actually cat dissection, and with the organs and part of the blood vessels, even though I may add to it, with some of the clay model building. Yeah.
Is there anything different you'll do in the next go round in the next semester in terms of how you bring it into the classroom, or is it you're happy with how it went?
And yeah, I think overall went pretty well. And I'm modifying just the menu a little bit, and just adding more photos, and just make it better. But overall, I think for the first semester, and considering we prepare for a whole year, and I'm really happy and thankful with the outcome. So
great. One thing I'd love to ask you about, I noticed on your online bio and your own online profile that you are working to connect yoga with anatomy and physiology, and that you are working with some courses and classes to help bring awareness between the two practices. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's actually a lot of people already connected them. So for me, it's the yoga is anatomy physiology in action.
Mhm.
So when I first, I remember yoga, it used to be something I kind of feel like it's so far from science. So I didn't really just go into it at all for a lot of years, and until much later. And then when I first read on how the Ujjayi breathing, which is a type of breathing technique of yoga that can activate the vagus nerve, and I was just so excited. And I saw that ancient practice and the science, the real anatomy, physiology, and it's really just completely merged together. So then I did a lot of reading, of course, and research. And so I don't want to go too long. I can go on and on this, absolutely, because I love all the different subjects and the connection. And I would just try to make it as concise as possible. So each yoga class I teach, it has three main components: mindfulness, and then you have or meditation, and then you have breathing, and then you have physical asanas or poses. And so what I will start with just the mindfulness and how it impacts our anatomy physiology. And so the seasoned yogis, there are multiple studies, so people practice for a couple of decades or longer, and their brain defy the aging process. So their prefrontal cortex actually gets thicker, and the hippocampus get thicker, so more volume of the neuron cells. And so that's all measured by functional MRI and other scanning. And so that's the anatomy on the brain. And for physiology, I think you read any of the article and you'll see that stress hormone during practice, after practice, and the stress hormone like cortisol and epinephrine goes down significantly. And the inflammatory markers go down, and even glucose go down, blood pressure, a lot of just different measurements, and it's all for the better. And then the feel good hormones, so neurotransmitters all increase. So they would have, if we practice and we have dopamine, like serotonin, and the endorphin, oxytocin, those will go up. And so that's just for the brain. I shouldn't even separate them, but it makes it a little easier kind of to explain. So breathing, and most people don't want to be pointed out like we're breathing wrong, but so many people do because we don't engage the diaphragm. So any of the breathing technique in yoga is to promote diaphragmatic breathing, and which activate our parasympathetic division in the autonomic nervous system, which give us that relax, the rest and digest, and that result. So just keep our autonomic tone. And then of course, when you breathe and deep, and you have more oxygen capacity and availability to cells, and efficiency as well. So I'll move on to the last one. That's physical poses. That's what people most interested in or know. But yes, more flexible, yes, more stronger, or the more range of motion with joints. But to me, most important, every yoga practice, and we're really connecting our nervous system with skeletal muscular system. And they are there, structure there, but every time you practice, and you're activating the pathway. And that pathway is two directions, because not just only our mind impact our physical body, but our physical body, what do we choose to do? What position do we choose to be in? And it also impact our mind. So I just get very excited over the connection. And I feel like everybody, and yoga is for everybody. And that every time we do yoga, and we positively impact our anatomy and physiology, which is our body structure and function. So I'll just keep it so short, but I have so much more and to share on that.
That's
Yeah.
great. Oh, that's great. And I know John Zahorik, who started the whole system, the ANATOMYINCLAY learning system. He's done lots and lots of work with yoga
Is
practitioners.
that right?
Oh
Oh,
yes,
okay.
yes.
Awesome.
He's
Awesome.
done. I've seen him do workshops for big rooms full of yoga teachers, and
Really?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
He
That's
really,
amazing.
he would really appreciate what you just said. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
great.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this has been a terrific rundown, and we really appreciate your insights and coming on the podcast today, Professor Moss. And we wish you well in all your teaching endeavors in the future.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, have a Merry Christmas and or happy holidays. Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks.
And